The only thing worse than being lied to is being lied to in such a way that you become an accomplice. An accomplice to something that if you were told up front, hey, this is what we're going to do, you would have said, no way, I'm not interested, I'm not involved. In fact, I might turn you in because I think what you're doing is so heinous, it should not be done. That's the only thing worse than actually just being lied to because, well, being lied to is bad enough all on its own. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast, and I don't know if you've ever been in that situation where a friend says, hey, we're just going to go do so-and-so. And I can tell you, it happened to me. It happened to me at a time that I was a lot more vulnerable than I even knew I was. And of course, as a young man in my late teens, early 20s, it had to do with a pretty hot chick. A beautiful blonde-headed girl that I had actually met when I was still in high school working in a grocery store. Turns up she moved to the same town that I ended up at my first military base, and we ran into each other again. Then I really thought there was a chance we could have something, right? She said, can you just give me a ride to so-and-so? And I'm like, I don't care. She didn't have a car. I did. She jumped in the car. I drove her around. She said, I need to stop here and see my friend. And so I stopped, and another girl got in the car, and I was like, all right, this is going good. And then they said, we need to stop and see one more friend. And I'm thinking, it's a small car. How many more people can we cram in here? But that wasn't what they were stopping for. No, I later found out they stopped to buy some stuff that if you'd told me, take me to so-and-so's house so I can buy some stuff, I would have said, no, I don't do that. Why would I even want to be in the presence of that? I don't want to be around people that do that. I certainly don't want it in my car because God knows if I get stopped, you're going to lie about it and I'm going to get busted. No. But I was never told the truth about where we were going or why we were going, and I became an accomplice to something that alone I would have never done, and knowingly I would have actively resisted. I see there's a special form of deception that can be used in communicative rhetoric, where I can lead you to believe something that I'm saying it's a new idea. I could lead you down a path of talking about something that, the ideas that we hold sometimes are they're fragile. It's hard to make the point that I'm trying to make because I'm not sure that you would understand this new idea. Okay, everything I just did there is a tool of rhetoric. Dr. Michael Stevenson can give you some better insight on it. I think he's a doctor now. Maybe he hasn't reached his PhD yet. Michael Stevenson is a hypnotist. Michael Stevenson teaches neurolinguistic programming. And in one of his books, he talks about a form of hypnotism called artful vagary. The tool of artful vagary for a communicator means I lead you down a path to believe certain things, and then I let your subconscious mind fill in the blanks. Now, the power of that from the communicator standpoint is I have a pretty good idea where you're going to go with that answer, but the danger for the listener is I already have a pretty good idea as the communicator where you as the listener are going to go with that, and you don't. You're going to make assumptions based on things that you thought you heard me say. Incomplete sentences, broken new ideas. These new ideas that you really can't understand, you just have to trust me. These new ideas that really they go over your head, but you'll just have to trust me. See, this form of manipulation that comes in conversation by a masterful communicator can be written into a speech delivered by a 5-year-old. True story. It can. Madison Avenue has been great at it for years. The concept of writing manipulative forms of copy is what we call it. And maybe you've seen all these ads on Facebook, maybe they're just targeted at me, about being good copywriters, about writing the right story into the ad, about the ability to draw on people's emotions and make them feel what you want them to feel so they act in the way you want them to act. That form of communication has been around for as long as humans have been around. It's become more manipulative in recent years as we've learned more about neuroscience and the emotional chemical reactions that people have to things that they hear and things that they think. And when you realize that you can utilize someone else's emotional base, someone else's confirmation biases, someone else's unintended subconscious processes to get them to do things that if you came to them straight up and said, hey, I want you to do this, they'd go, you are smoking bananas. I'm never going to be a part of that. I don't even believe in what you're saying. In fact, if you told me that's what you were going to do, I would have actively resisted what you're asking me to do. And my friends, that's happening at an extremely fast pace right now. And in my humble opinion, with significant evidence, the mainstream media is an accomplice intentionally. In fact, the rhetoric the mainstream media is using to describe things that they're seeing in the world today, the choice of words, the fragmented sentences, the stacking of ideas, the burying of ideas, the changing of the meaning of ideas in order to manipulate your emotions, all of those things are being done on purpose. And if you knew what they were up to, if you could read between the lines, if you could decode the silliness that they call journalism, you would actively resist what they're up to. I truly believe that the rhetoric such as this is a danger to our democracy when we don't live in a democracy is a manipulative form for something that you're not yet seeing because they haven't called it out yet, but they're going to. And when they do, you're going to go, I should have seen this coming. Oh, you should see this coming. You should be able to see it right now, because it's kind of like that when you're driving across West Texas. And if you've never done this, it would be fun. Just get on I-20 or 287, 281 and head west across Texas. And after Abilene, as you're coming up to, say, Sweetwater, Lubbock area, you'll begin to see these clouds that it looks like a bug on your windshield. And at one point, you're kind of dodging around going, is that a cloud or what is that? But in a matter of what seems like seconds, that cloud in the distance, that bug on the windshield, becomes a thunderstorm that tries to wash you off the highway. That's what we're experiencing right now with the rhetoric and the manipulation of the masses. People who are simply not well informed, or they're very well informed, but only with the data that they need to make the decision that you kind of want somebody to make. I mean, I could give you 5 features and benefits of a particular car that would make you want to buy that car in opposition to every other car like it. But maybe it's those 5 that are its greatest qualities, and the other 16 would tell you, you don't want anywhere near that. I mean, sure, it's got great bucket seats, and it's an all-leather interior, and it's got the largest engine in its class. So what if it's a bulldozer? Who cares that it's a bulldozer? It's got great bucket seats and the largest engine in its class. Why would you not want that? That's the kind of rhetoric that you're experiencing right now. And I truly believe if you were aware of the lies that are being told to you, and when I say you, I mean all of America, but all of the world. There are people all over the world who are hearing the same rhetoric and going, oh, I like that idea. I love bucket seats and a new motor. But they don't realize the package that it comes with. They're buying the lies, they're buying the rhetoric, they're being manipulated. But if they knew what they're being manipulated to approve of, being manipulated to agree with, being manipulated to be an accomplice to, if they knew that up front, they would actively resist. Leaders, this is your time to become astute, to become aware, to become acutely aware. Let me put those two together, astute and acutely aware. You've got to do your homework. You've got to understand the ways which you can be manipulated. And you've got to start asking yourself the question, when someone says X, what is the Y that they really mean? And what's the end game that they're looking for? Because if right now it seems like the end game is broken and discombobulated, like you're looking at it going, I don't even get the point of what you're saying. It doesn't make any sense to me. That is the point. That is exactly the point. It's part of the manipulation. To make you think that what they're up to is so haphazard it doesn't really matter, is the way that they get you to go along with what you would actively resist if you knew. I'm challenging you as leaders. Become astute and become acutely aware of all the forms of manipulation going on around you. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day. Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.